Hello and welcome to ZTN News Blitz. Let's take a look at our top stories. Is Zimbabwe re-dollarizing? We'll give you the nuts and bolts. Civil servants reject government salary offer. Musician Shasha rallies Zimbabwe for BET gong. And in sport, Zimstar Nakamba makes Black Lives Matter statement. Market watchers say yesterday's announcement from the fiscal and monetary authorities signal continuous efforts towards re-dollarization of the Zimbabwean economy exactly a year after dumping the multi-currency system. Yesterday, Treasury reviewed civil servant salaries upwards by 50% with an additional non-taxable allowance of $75 payable in local nostro accounts. The central bank followed suit and abandoned its 1:25 currency peg just 3 months after it was introduced, opting for an auction system. Economist Professor Gift Mugango told ZTN that the latest developments were a continuous process towards re-dollarization.
It's just going to happen automatically because you know that the moment you are pricing in US dollars, right? Your pricing regime has a statutory requirement of including the value-added tax. And the 2% tax as well will kick in because it's part of the taxing regime of the country. And that in itself will build foreign currency reserves for government, which will then be used to sustain, assuming all things are equal, the payment of salaries in US dollars. But also, you also need to take note that this is not going to leave out private sector. Private sector is no way they can avoid this. They're going to also charge their prices in US dollars, pay workers in US dollars. So which means payee is also going to go into the government coffers in US dollars.
He also pointed that the central bank's announcement for an auction system empowered retailers and service providers to charge in US dollars, widening Treasury's tax base. Now, moving on, economic data analysts at Zimbola pointed out that Zimbabwe had re-wound to 2009 when a multi-currency system dominated by the US dollar was adopted. They pointed that with civil servants opening US dollar nostro accounts en masse, there was a good business case for retailers to service this segment, whilst the government also earned US dollar tax. But economist John Robertson said it was too soon to determine if measures would result in a re-dollarization.
So it's hard to guess precisely how well the changes that they're proposing will work. But it does seem to be an acknowledgement that the exchange rate we have now has no bearing on what the market is doing. And so we might well see the auction system, however well it works, coming up with a figure that is, instead of the 25 today, go to 50.
Still with the dollar, Zimbabwe's public workers have rejected a 50% salary increment offer made by government yesterday. Apex Council, the body which represents civil servants, was emphatic in its rejection of the offer. Secretary David Zatsunga says they should have been engaged first before government made what he said was a unilateral announcement.
The problem here maybe is that we have not been consulted. So we really don't have information to speak in an informed way to that announcement. Only up until government invites us to a formal meeting will we be able to understand what it is and what the implications are.
Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions leader Peter Mutasa says the offer remains little.
That's a pittance. Those are peanuts that they've offered workers. We have been telling the government for a long time now that what we need is a holistic and fundamental economic reform agenda that realigns the economic policies to a pro-poor and pro-worker developmental agenda.
Employers Confederation of Zimbabwe President Israel Murefu says the latest development does not affect the private sector.
We recommend that the salaries are negotiated at national employment councils, and the salaries should be based on the ability of that sector to carry a certain level of salary. And obviously for senior people, this is by negotiation with the employee or as determined by the board of directors. So there is a difference between the private sector and government or the civil service.
Still with public workers, nurses at Pararinyatwa Hospital yesterday made their plight known to the world by downing tolls. Yes, the message got home, but it is the sick who bore the brunt of such an action. ZTN correspondent Patience Namburo was at the hospital and she takes us through the motions.
After waking up to half of their salaries cut off, nurses at one of Harare's hospitals, Pararinyatwa Hospital, yesterday downed tools. They were demanding payment in US dollars as inflation has eroded their Zimbabwe dollar salaries. In response, government increased all public service salaries by 50%. On top of that, a non-taxable $75 COVID-19 allowance for 3 months. But in all this, it is the sick who are the most affected. About yesterday's action, Zimbabwe Nurses Association President Enoch Longo attributed the development to frustrations within their rank and file.
We are really concerned. We are concerned about our welfare. We are concerned how health workers are going to survive with the peanuts that we received this month. We don't know, we don't understand why more than 2,000, some of us 2,000, some 1.5 were slashed in this time and era where we were expecting more, and for somebody to expect that a health worker will report for duty only for 2,000, which cannot buy $30 that is a mockery. So an insult.
It remains to be seen if the latest offer by authorities will help pacify the restless civil service. For ZTN, I'm Patience Namburo in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare.
Meanwhile, nurses at Mpilo Referral Hospital in Zimbabwe's second largest city, Bulawayo, also downed tools today, protesting low salaries.
sibuya sithule ngasikomplaina sithini kodwa abantu basutha ayibhadali ukuthi tosibiziwe ilizwe kodwa kubhadala kuphithi ifamily zethu ezindlini ngale kuyafika abantwana bacheka amanzi akulonto ekhona la sifuna imali
belifuna kuwenzweni
sifuna imali sifuna ukongezelela iholo lethu sifuna wona lama US abanye abalaba abasincitha wona yiwo sofuna sifuna imali.
Private schools in Zimbabwe have laid out a plan for the second school term reopening. Schools are set to open in a phased manner on 28 July, starting with examination classes. Representatives of private schools met with Education Minister Ambassador Kane Matema on Wednesday to discuss their plan for resumption of lessons, among other things. Chairperson of the Zimbabwe Independent and Private Schools, Salom Mutsinze, outlines the school's opening plan.
Some of the highlights on the safety procedures and precautions to be enforced include that all staff and learners undergo rapid tests, facilitate continuous training for staff and learners on safety precautions against COVID-19 with consultation with the Ministry of Health and Child Care, regular fumigation of facilities, ensure everyone puts on the WHO 3-layer recommended face mask all the time while at school.
The Bankers Association of Zimbabwe says it has been engaging the central bank's financial intelligence unit over its recent directives aimed at addressing the Forex black market. The latest move was a warning to dealers who use social media platforms for their illicit deals. BAS President Ralph Watungwa told ZTN that the discussions had already started yielding results, with the FIU revoking a directive issued to banks limiting internal transfer amounts. This means depositors are now free to make more than 2 internal transfers a day.
Yeah, the new directive that you will appreciate, which we are happy with, which don't have a problem with the intention. It was just the practicality of making sure those controls were adhered to 100%. So we offered the central bank what we thought banks would be able to implement without having to upgrade systems.
Now for some politics, the soap opera in Zimbabwe's opposition MDC continues, with 2 factions at each other's necks again. A faction led by Thokozani Kupe, which has since taken over the party's headquarters, Morgan Tsvangirai House, accuses the Nelson Chamisa faction of mobilizing unemployed youth to violently wrestle the officers from Kupe's control. This morning, there were mini skirmishes at the headquarters, which Organizing Secretary for Harare Province in Kupe's camp, Rhino Mashaya, claims were orchestrated by Nelson Chamisa.
Yeah, it's like Wakumana MDC Alliance, my youth, but most of them go my vendor, I pack some more Karpana. Go or go recruit, go mobilize on Chamisa, Utuawe or Chita violence. What they want, they were trying to disturb standing committee Kusitanas. But unfortunately, no now security leadership, young guy up Dara, so Baba Angoita hit and run.
Spokesperson of the Chamisa-led MDC Alliance, Advocate Fadzai Mahere, distanced her party from the drama.
The MDC Alliance did not go and resort to self-help at Harvest House. From the day the Harvest House invasion took place, we have only used legal mechanisms to enforce our rights. And you'll know that even on the very night that the takeover took place, Secretary General Charlton Wende made a criminal complaint. The police refused to take his criminal report. They referred him to soldiers, and after that we went to our lawyers, and our lawyers applied for a spoliation order in order to enforce our rights. If we had any interest in, starting violence or enforcing our rights, we would have done so at that point.
South African-based Zimbabwean amapiano queen Shasha has rallied Zimbabwean music fans to vote for her as she eyes her first Black Entertainment Television BET Award. Shasha, who hails from the city of Mutare, was nominated for the Viewer's Choice Best New International Act together with Rema of Nigeria, Celeste from the UK, Young T and Bagasi, also from the UK, Hatik and Stacey, both from France. She is the first Zimbabwean to be nominated for a BET award. The award ceremony is set for June 29 and will simulcast on BET Africa at 2 a.m. Central African Time. ZTN caught up with an excited Shasha who had this message for her fans.
Hi, this is Shasha, and I have amazing news for you guys. I have been nominated for a BET Award, Viewer's Choice Best New International Act, and I'm super stoked. But yeah, I cannot bag this award without you guys, so I'm just asking you guys to go and vote. How you do it? Go to BET International, that's the quickest way, BET International, and go onto their page and like my picture. Then you can go onto BET.com international and vote 20, and then you can go ahead and cast your vote. But yeah, please guys, I need you guys.
A man who drank hard liquor daily for more than 40 years has developed massive fat lumps around his neck due to a rare condition. Doctors said that the man's love for alcohol was the cause of the disorder known as a hyponeck in China, which saw his neck swelling to twice its normal size. The patient, known by his surname Wang, told the local media that he drank about 300 milliliters of Baijiu, a strong Chinese grain wine, every day since the age of 18. Baijiu, also known as white liquor, is a type of super-strength Chinese grain wine containing 52% alcohol by volume on average, which is nearly 10% stronger than typical vodka. A new study by researchers from King's College London says social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube may present a health risk to the UK because they are spreading conspiracy theories about coronavirus. The paper, published in a journal, Psychological Medicine, found people who get their news from social media sources are more likely to break lockdown rules. The study analyzed surveys conducted across Britain in April and May this year. People were asked if they believed COVID-19 related conspiracy theories such as the virus being made in a laboratory or that symptoms were linked to 5G radiation. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says that it has stopped its research looking at the potential of malaria drug hydroxychloroquine as a treatment for coronavirus. The UN Health Agency said that recent findings showed that hydroxychloroquine does not result in the reduction of mortality of hospitalized COVID-19 patients. There's been widespread interest in the drug as both a preventative measure and for treating patients with coronavirus. It has long been used to treat malaria, lupus and arthritis, but there is no evidence of its efficacy against COVID-19. Moving on to sport, Zimbabwe Warriors midfielder Marvelous Nakamba was introduced in the last 14 minutes as Aston Villa and Sheffield United played a goalless draw last night. Nakamba will be fighting for his place in the coming matches as the Villa manager opted to start Brazilian Douglas Luiz. In that match, players from both camps made a powerful statement in support of Black Lives Matter. They took a knee at the start of the match at Villa Park. Graham Sharp became the first Zimbabwean to enter and finish the Dakar rally as a biker. But now, who was the man behind the scenes? ZTN spoke to fitness trainer Grant Mitchell.
It was a unique opportunity and obviously a very exciting challenge. Not only working with an individual, but working with an individual in a very different sport. You know, most of the sports I've been privileged to work with, bar Mikey and Thornycroft in a boat, has been ground-based. So this one being on a bike, you know, equipment, machinery, it brought about its own challenges, and they were exciting ones, and that's why, you know, Graham just said it was an easy one to say yes to, and it was just a case of understanding more about not just the actual Dakar event itself and what it entailed, but, you know, the journey it takes to get there. You know, a lot of people forget that we just watch something on TV or catch up with news and sort of short clips on YouTube, you know, the actual event, but very few people understand that it was days on end, hours upon hours of training sessions, you know, both on the bike, in recovery, on the physio's bed, on the massage plinth.
And that's all we had for you on ZTN News Blitz. For these and more stories, don't miss Sports Daily on ZTN.